Hello there again, YouTube family. Dr. K here, and welcome back to my channel, Winning in Your Education Career. Winning on this channel means maybe you're new to teaching and you're jumping into the teaching game, or maybe you're jumping from the classroom and into that teacher coach role, or maybe you want to be a principal. Or winning could mean simply, I am done with teaching altogether. On this channel, we talk about it all. Whatever you consider winning, we are going to discuss. So join me on that journey. Like and subscribe and share my videos so I can continue making videos that I enjoy. So today's video, I saw a video by a young lady, and I'm going to look up her information on my notes. I have to have my notes. The channel is called Pocketful of Primary, and the video I looked at all the way through was I quit teaching, and here's what I learned. So yes, this is another video about young teachers leaving the classroom that kind of struck my heart, and I wanted to talk about it. So today we're going to talk about what this young lady really ultimately was saying. She left the classroom because she was looking for something more, and ultimately she stumbled across teaching leadership or teaching coaching. So today, let's talk about it. We're going to discuss the 10 things you need to think about before you dive into that teacher coach or teacher leadership role. Now, teacher leadership, here's my disclaimer, is not for everyone. Not every great teacher can be a teacher leader, but maybe you have what it takes. So let's see. Let's start right in. Number one. Would you consider yourself to be a master teacher? That is the first thing that I looked at when I was a principal, when I hired teacher leaders in my building, if they actually were great teachers. And what do I mean by great? So you were doing great with your data, your kids were progressing academically, and we could see quantifiable data in the books. That's what I mean by great. If you're trying to be a teacher leader or a teacher coach, you're going to be coaching other teachers on how to be successful academically with their students. So you first have to have been a master teacher. So if you feel like, yeah, I was a great teacher, I was a great master teacher, give yourself a check. You're on your road to becoming a teacher leader or teacher coach. All right, number two. Can you teach all types of adult learners? So as we know with children, you always have all different types of students in your classroom. And as a teacher coach in the building, you're going to be dealing with different types of adults. So young adults, you're going to have older adults, you're going to have LGBTQ adults, you're going to have some adults who may be more cognitively inclined or not. So can you work with all of those different types of adult learners and their different types of personalities? So before checking yes to this question, I want you to think about the teachers in your building and think about maybe that negative Nancy in your building or Debbie Downer. Can you work with them? If you say, yeah, I can do it, I could coach them, I could make them become more successful in their teaching, give yourself a check for yes. All right, number three. Do you like pulling together presentations and trainings and presenting in front of large groups? So I say large groups. Some teacher coaches work with small teaching groups. They may just work with the grade level group of maybe 6 teachers, or maybe even a couple of teachers, or maybe even 1 teacher. But the majority of teacher leaders and teacher coaches, they do large trainings to teachers. So you have to be comfortable pulling together an engaging training for adults that will keep them listening and learning. And as you know, getting adults to attend to some of those PD sessions can be a bear. So can you pull together an engaging teacher leader PD session that's going to keep people engaged and learning and up and all of that? And are you comfortable being up in front of the group and being the one on stage for that big training? If you say yes, give yourself a check because that's halfway there. Okay, number 4. This one is kind of going with the trainings. Are you comfortable always being front and center? At trainings, at the teacher meetings, when the principals have their staff meetings, teachers will always be looking at the principal. They always looked at me. I always felt like I was on stage the moment I walked into a building. But as a teacher leader, other teachers will also always be looking at you to see what you're doing, how you're reacting to what the principal is saying, how you're reacting to this parent, this student. So you will always be on stage. People will always be, for better or worse, looking for a way to critique your teacher leadership skills and abilities. Are you comfortable with that? People always looking to kind of get you, to be on the out to kind of get you. If you say, yeah, I can kind of let that roll off my shoulders, then give yourself a yes. This is halfway on to being a teacher leader, but this is a big one. And you have to be very comfortable with knowing that people will be watching you for good and sometimes for not so good. Okay, here's a doozy. Number 5. Would you be comfortable training or coaching difficult teachers? So here's what I mean by that. As a principal, I sometimes referred teachers to my teacher coaches for training because they needed help. But there were other times teachers just would come up to me and say, can I have so-and-so, the reading specialist, come into my class and help me with these lessons? That's wonderful when a teacher seeks out additional coaching. But as a teacher leader or teacher coach in your building, there are going to be many times that your principal will charge you with working with teachers who are not producing or up to par or getting their kids to excel academically. Those will be your reluctant teachers. And are you going to be comfortable working and sitting down with a teacher who basically is being forced to work with you? How are you going to deal with that? If you feel like right now in the pit of your stomach, that's too much for me, then teacher leadership and teacher coaching is not for you. You are not always going to have the warm and fuzzy teacher sitting across you who's eager to learn. Just like as teachers, we do not always get the warm and fuzzy student sitting in our classroom. So keep that in mind. Even though you will have great information to share and you are there to help out that teacher, your reception will not always be welcome. So keep that in mind. All right, so this goes into number 6. Are you prepared then to handle teachers who are reluctant and then also may become hostile? And we know how adults can have that what we call passive-aggressive nature, right? So it could be very passive, but the passive-aggressive teachers can be just as biting and hurtful as some of those more overtly aggressive teachers. How are you going to be feeling when your job as the teacher coach in the building, the principal, me, I told you I need you to work with Miss Johnson. She's struggling with, let's say, classroom management or reading instruction or pedagogy, whatever she's struggling with. And your job as the teacher coach in the building is to get her up to snuff. But she's reluctant and she's hostile. Are you going to feel comfortable still working with that teacher? Because you're not going to be able to go back to the principal and say, well, look, I'm trying to work with her. She's not going to work with me, so I'm done. That is not going to fly. You are the coach. You have got to pull out all the stops you need to pull out to break through to Miss Johnson to get her to be less hostile and aggressive and hopefully accept your teaching and training you're trying to give her. So if that sounds like that may be too much for you to bear, don't go into teacher leadership. Okay, number 7. How comfortable are you managing meetings that might include, let's say, your teacher coach, your teacher mentee that you're coaching, and you having to sit in on these meetings with that teacher? So it could be their report card meetings. You have to sit in with the parent and help that teacher explain to the parent why their child is not learning. or why their child has to go now into special education, or why their child has to be tested. You have to sit in on those meetings, or you as a teacher leader has to sit in on those IEP meetings, and you're representing not only the school and the principal, but also the teacher in the classroom who may not be doing everything that they should have been doing to help that child. So how are you going to be feeling when the people around the table are looking at you because you're the teacher coach? How are you going to help Miss Johnson help my child? Are you going to be comfortable in those situations when those parents start to kind of push some of that aggression and not so nice talking towards you? Think about this question seriously. I don't want you to think that these meetings are always going to go smoothly. Everyone is going to be so grateful for your help. You have such wonderful information to share, which you do. But again, you have to get people to listen, and sometimes they just don't. So can you handle those difficult meetings? Yes or no? Okay, we are at number 8, and this one is also a doozy. So, as a teacher coach, you are not evaluating teachers. So we know that. You are not the evaluator on record. They are being evaluated by principals, so that would be me or my assistant principal. But as a teacher leader or teacher coach, you're in a quasi-leadership role. So a quasi-evaluative role. Are you going to be comfortable going back to the principal when I bring you in to say, okay, you've been working with Miss Johnson for 6 weeks. How's she doing? What do we need to do next? Tell me the good, the bad, the ugly. Are you going to be comfortable then talking to the principal saying, well, she's not progressing because she didn't do A, B, and C, she won't listen? You're going to have to be honest. And if you feel like being honest, going back to your principal and perhaps telling on Mrs. Johnson, you and Mrs. Johnson may have been friends and you feel really comfortable around her, she's in your friend circle, and you feel like maybe reporting that back to me, the principal, is a breach of friendship, don't do it. Do not do teacher leadership. You have got to be in a neutral position to work with the teacher and bring information back to the principal and leadership team to say, it's working, she's following what I'm doing, we're on a good trajectory moving up, or it's not working, she's not doing what I'm doing, what I'm telling her to do, and I'm not sure if we should keep her in the school. So think about that carefully. You are going to have to report back to the principal, good or bad. So if you feel like, yeah, I can do it, give yourself a check yes. If you feel like, nah, this is too much for me, I'm not doing that, don't even step into teacher leadership. Okay, number 9, and this goes with number 8, particularly if you are trying to be a teacher leader in the school that you are currently in, do you currently like all of the teachers in your school enough to coach them? Because again, you will not get to just pick your friends or just pick the nice teachers that you know, the really bubbly teachers who are always up to try anything. You're probably going to have to work with those negative Nancys and Debbie Downers. So think now, if you are applying for a teacher leadership job in your school, look around to some of the difficult teachers that you hear about, because we all hear them, and think about if I could work with negative Nancy. And if you cannot, then definitely don't try to be a teacher leader in your school. Now, I will be honest, the road from teacher in the classroom to teacher leadership is easiest in your building with your current principal, because your principal knows your abilities and they're willing to give you a chance at the job. But it's sometimes harder to be a teacher leader, teacher coach in your building. You've been friends with some of these people, now you're in a different role, and is it going to work? So think about that question very carefully before definitely applying for a teacher leadership job in your school. And then the last one is, it's kind of one that people don't think about, definitely something you should keep in your mind. Are you prepared for dealing with the jealousy that you may run into because now you're a teacher leader? So that doesn't mean, it could mean you're in your school and you've been motivated and elevated, promoted, out of the classroom. And now you're a teacher leader and you're a new teacher coach or the reading specialist or the math specialist. You're all of that. Are you prepared for your teacher friends that you've kind of left behind in the classroom and their jealousy? Now, I'm not saying that every one of your teacher friends will be jealous because of your promotion. They will not. You will have some wonderful friends who will be rooting for you and helping you along the way, but you have to be prepared for people who are going to be thinking, how did she get that job? Or how did he get that job? I should have gotten that job. I'm better than him. I'm better than her. And then actively, maybe even unconsciously, actively working to sabotage your success. Are you going to be comfortable having some of that negativity thrown in your face daily? And we know what it feels like when people are looking at you thinking, that should have been me. Particularly in your school when the teacher leadership job was so competitive. So think about that, because that could rock some of your friendships in your school. And if most of your solid friendships are built around your school setting and your teacher friends, then this is a real consideration to think about. But if you feel like, no, I can handle that, I am going to work towards my better good and what I feel like I should do, then wonderful. And this is really, when I talked about that video in the beginning from Pocket Full of Primary, I think that was her issue. She didn't quit teaching. She outgrew the classroom and she moved into a teacher leadership role, which is what you should be striving for. I always tell my teachers, particularly those new teachers coming in, that teaching is a career. You should strive to stay in, let's say, the classroom for 6, 7 years before you start to get burnt out. And you should be thinking always about your next step. And the next step really is that teacher leadership role. And it can go in many different directions. As I said, new teacher coach, reading specialist, math specialist. You can be an IEP coordinator. So there are really many different roads you can take to come out of the classroom as a next step, so you can start thinking about, where am I moving my career trajectory upward? Because again, this channel is about winning in your education career. Now, if you are one of those teachers that want to stay in a classroom for 30 years and you love it, great, perfect, we need you. We need great teachers in the classroom. But if you're someone like me who got restless maybe every 6 or so years and I needed to do something different, you're in a great career. But think carefully about moving from the classroom into a teacher leadership role. Okay, so that's it, fam. If you feel like I've hit some things that you like, please leave me a comment. If you feel like I've missed some considerations, leave some comments below as well. And if you're thinking, I'm still not sure, I have a book for you that I want you to work through. And here I talked about 10 questions. In my book, it's really a reflective journal where you're going to kind of journal out your answers. I have 20 full questions for you to think about. And those questions will help you decide if teacher leadership is for you and something you should be thinking about and plotting your career forward. So I'll have links below in the description for that journal. I want you to go ahead and get it and start working through it, writing down your answers before you jump into the teacher leadership role blind. Okay, that's it for now. I look forward to seeing you in my next video when I'm going to be talking about moving from teacher leadership into the principal role. I don't know. Let's see who wants to be a principal. Okay, thanks again. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share this video. See you next time.